Welcome to this explainer, where we're popping the hood on Rian Johnson's modern mystery masterpiece, Knives Out. If you've seen it, you already know it's a wildly entertaining ride. But today, we're not just doing a recap, we're actually going to deconstruct the intricate plot engine that drives the whole thing. We're going to look at exactly how Johnson took a genre that studios honestly deemed antiquated and completely modernized it simply by messing with our narrative expectations. Let's get right into it.
All right, so to really understand what Rian Johnson did here, we got to look at the advice that inspired him to throw out the traditional mystery rulebook in the first place. When he was developing the film, Johnson actually looked to Alfred Hitchcock for guidance. And Hitchcock believed that conventional whodunits relied way too heavily on just one thing, a single climactic plot twist right before the credits roll, right? Like if you just have a detective gathering suspects in a drawing room to reveal the killer, you run the risk of formulaic suspense. Johnson totally took this to heart. Because, how do you actually maintain tension for 2 solid hours, rather than just the final 5 minutes?
Which brings us to Section 1, the classic whodunit setup, a dead author and a house of suspects. So at first glance, the film sets up your ultimate classic suspect pool. You've got Harlan Thrombey, the wealthy victim found dead in his creepy Gothic mansion. You've got his family, who are fiercely defensive of their privilege, especially his absolutely contemptible grandson, Ransom. And then, pitted against all of them, is Harlan's devoted nurse, Marta, an underdog from an immigrant family. Now, the police initially think it's a suicide, but our eccentric private detective, Benoit Blanc, he suspects foul play. So the stage is perfectly set for a standard interrogation, right? Well, wrong.
And that leads right into Section 2, the mid-story thriller shift, where the antagonist pivots.
Instead of keeping the killer a secret until the very end, Johnson actually reveals how Harlan died early on in the first act. We literally watch Marta accidentally give Harlan a lethal dose of morphine. And boom, suddenly the film ceases to be a traditional whodunit and shifts into a Hitchcock-style thriller. The focus completely flips. Detective Blanc, who we thought was our hero, suddenly transforms into the antagonist. And our actual hero is the sympathetic Marta, who now desperately has to evade Blanc's investigation to avoid prison and keep her undocumented mother from being deported. It is a massive structural shift.
To make this whole thriller setup even more agonizing, Johnson gives Marta a really specific involuntary physical condition. She literally cannot lie without vomiting. Think about that as a mechanical plot device. How on earth is a guilty protagonist supposed to survive an intensive police interrogation led by a world-famous detective when she literally throws up every time she tells a fib? It forces her to navigate the investigation by giving accurate but incredibly specific and incomplete answers, basically hiding the incriminating evidence in plain sight.
Moving on to Section 3, the night of the murder and chronological untangling.
So let's untangle this timeline. Marta spends a huge chunk of the film believing she accidentally killed her friend at 11:30 p.m. with the wrong medication. But by 11:45, Harlan realizes she made an honest mistake, and he knows his ruthless family will absolutely destroy her. So, to ensure Marta can't be charged, he rapidly devises a false alibi and then slits his own throat right at midnight. All the while, Marta has absolutely no idea that a much larger conspiracy is actually at play here.
Using his decades of experience plotting best-selling crime novels, Harlan essentially directs his own murder scene. He gives Marta the super precise instructions to establish plausible deniability. She has to visibly leave the house through the front door, sneak back in via a hidden window, put on Harlan's disguise so someone sees him alive, and then escape unseen into the night. It's a brilliant plan that creates a perfect timeline to clear Marta, if she can just keep her stomach settled while talking to Detective Blanc.
Next up is Section 4, the mastermind's entrapment. Ransom's counter-memo.
Okay, while Marta is sweating out literally every interaction with Blanc, we find out Harlan's grandson, Ransom, is actively pulling strings in the background. To trigger the Slayer rule, which basically invalidates an inheritance if the beneficiary killed the benefactor, Ransom starts this deadly game of cat and mouse. He discovers he's cut from the will, so he swaps Harlan's meds to frame Marta. Then he anonymously hires Detective Blanc to investigate. And when he gets blackmailed by the housekeeper, Fran, he just goes all out, burning down the medical examiner's office to destroy toxicology reports and overdosing Fran with morphine too. It is an incredibly dense, multi-layered trap. But here is where Blanc uncovers the ultimate plot twist. Marta didn't actually poison Harlan. Thanks to her years of experience as a nurse, Marta intuitively gave Harlan the correct medication by recognizing the fluid's viscosity, without even looking at the swap's labels. She only thought she poisoned him because she read the tampered label after the fact. This means Marta is unequivocally innocent. Ransom's entire attempt to frame her actually resulted in her giving the right dose. Talk about flipping the script with undeniable proof of innocence. And this all culminates in a wildly satisfying climax. Marta gets a call from the hospital about Fran, who Ransom just poisoned. Marta tells Ransom that Fran survived and is totally going to implicate him. Ransom, thinking his attempt to kill Fran failed, smugly confesses to the whole plot, bragging that he'll avoid major jail time for just attempted murder. And then Marta vomits right on his sweater. She weaponizes her inability to lie because Fran is actually dead. The police officers in the room just got Ransom's recorded confession for an actual murder. Ransom goes off the deep end, grabs a knife from Harlan's collection to attack Marta, but surprise, it's a harmless retractable stage knife. Ransom gets arrested and his elaborate entrapment completely falls apart. Which brings us to our final section, Section 5, Subverting the Mystery Genre and the Mechanics of Empathy. So, the entire plot actually operates as this fantastic allegory for class warfare and privilege. Look at the dynamic Rian Johnson setup. The true villains aren't necessarily just the murderer, but the entitled family members who feel this inherent ownership over Harlan's wealth. Detective Blanc explicitly tells Marta that she didn't win by playing Ransom's ruthless game, or even by outsmarting the detectives. She prevailed entirely because she made ethical choices. When she found a drugged Fran, Marta could have just let her die to protect her own secret. But instead, she chose to save her, perform CPR, and call an ambulance. She wins by maintaining her humanity. It's such a great reminder for us that the mechanics of a story hit hardest when they're tied directly to a character's morality.
The film leaves us with this incredibly satisfying final image. Marta looking down from the balcony of what is now her mansion, sipping from Harlan's mug that reads, "My house, my rules, my coffee," while the defeated family just looks up from the driveway. It is a perfect visual summary of the film's inverted power dynamics. And it really makes you wonder, if a dusty, old-fashioned whodunit can be injected with this much thrilling structural subversion and themes of class warfare, what other classic film genres out there are just ripe for a radical modern deconstruction? Something to think about. Always keep looking for the structure beneath the stories you love.